we think and we believe that we're much more intelligent than we actually are. And just because we can engage in like these political discussions online and I see a good argument from someone and I can kind of copy it and whatnot, we believe much more than what reality shows us that we are very intelligent, we have all the good arguments and whatnot. And I become very aware of this every time, and I should do it more, that I read good books. Because when I'm reading them in English, because also it's not my first language, so I think it becomes even more apparent how much I don't know. And I'm reading and I'm like just marveling when it's a good author at just how can someone like connect words in this way and think in such a manner and then express these thoughts in such a manner that are just so good. I even have here, I was recently reading this book. What a weird way to hold my iPad, but The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis. And I was reading it for the video I did on objective morality, and it really is him going through his thoughts on it. But it is insane because I thought in my mind that I was like, yeah, I kind of know what I'm talking about here. I kind of know the arguments I'm making. I don't. And I read it and I'm like, it, this level of thought and of expressing thought is beyond me, at least at this current stage of my knowledge and wordsmanship and all of that. I just, if I was to be talking with this person, it's like it's like they would have to make themselves dumber so I understand if they're really doing it in this way. And I think nowadays we have just convinced ourselves that we're so smart and so knowledgeable and we know everything. And when I'm gonna go talk with someone, I already speak as if I know everything because we're just consuming content, and really content is the right word, that is just not intelligent and it's not complex enough, and it's simple in all the wrong ways. Because even though I really like simplicity, it's just dumbed down. I think it's the correct way of putting it. And even after this, I look at these people that spend their days arguing online and debating and whatnot, and I'm like, if if C.S. Lewis, for example, was put in front of you talking about this, you would like he would just walk you down because it's just such a level of thought that is so above, and that is considering the intelligent points on the other side, and it's not trying to villainify, make a villain out of the other side, and it's actually approaching it in an intelligent manner, respecting your opponent in this case, and just expressing things in a way that, at least for me, just humbles me down because I recognize just how much I don't know and how much I have to learn. If I want to write better, think better, express myself better, understand the world better, and I think it goes for everyone. We just got to read more. We got to read things that kind of put us in our place. Because, if you really think about it, I don't think nowadays writers and thinkers, philosophers, if we want to go there, and really intellectuals, they're not, first of all, respected as they used to, because they, quite frankly, they're just not creating, from my understanding, as good things as they used to. Because if you look at, and I'm going to take C.S. Lewis example, this is a guy that you can go to this level of thought about something more philosophical and more, I'm not going to say political, but more in that spectrum, but that then goes ahead and writes fiction work that is also fantastic, like the Chronicles of Narnia, for example. And I say this because it just shows where our society is going. That if you stop respecting the people that are very intelligent, can write books very well or create movies very well, whatever it may be. But I'm gonna say specifically books with the written word, because I think you can get to a level of detail that you can't really with a movie or even a song. It's just, I think, the best medium to express ideas. When we lose respect for that, and when we begin focusing just on what gets more engagement or what doesn't, then of course things are going to be dumbed down, and the ones that can dumb down the better are going to believe they're very intelligent. But they're not. You're just, you can just not promote, what's the word? You can just share things better to the lowest common denominator, but that doesn't make you, better in any way, except for that fact, perhaps you're better at marketing. But that's it. Like if C.S. Lewis were to publish this book on Substack, because it's a short book, but like as a long as Substack, probably it wouldn't be that engaged with, because it's requires you to sit there and read and then reread and think about it. And I think we're losing that a little bit, but that's besides the point. Because what I want to do here is really to encourage anyone watching and myself to read more of these books, well written, touching on topics that are hard to discuss and to think through. Because man, they just, to me, what they do is like they humble me and they make me much more, well, humble, of course, but just with a better perspective approaching life. Because all of a sudden I stopped trying to be the one that's correct and arguing, and I'm just like, I just gotta learn more. I just have to, how can I write like this? How can I think like this? How can I, develop my ideas and then connect them in such a way? How can I do that? And when one is in that mindset of a student, essentially, you have to be humble, because you have to recognize just how much you don't know and how much still is beyond you. And when we approach that, not only, let's say if I'm trying to write better, but when we approach everything like that, and I know some situations cannot be approached like that. If someone is trying to argue with you, it's hard to have that mindset. But if we had it, it would be so much better. Because let's say someone's trying to argue something, they're upset about this thing. If you approach them like with genuine curiosity and not believing, even if you really disagree, not believing that you know everything and that you have to prove your point here. And if you're really trying to understand their point, first of all, perhaps you learn something you don't know, because you never know. Then second of all, you perhaps genuinely asking that person, they would probably also recognize they don't know that much as they think they do. They may know the arguments to counteract the other arguments. They may know how to debate in a certain way. But when someone is genuinely curious and you're having to explain, you also realize maybe there's some blind spots I have here. Maybe I don't know as much as I thought I did. And it just makes everything better. But it has to start with the individual, and it has to start by putting ourselves in situations where we're forced to be humble. And I'll finish because I think I'm going to start getting too much into just a circle. But if I go on YouTube and I just watch people arguing against dumb arguments, well, that's easy. Of course, like take any stand that you want about anything and then argue against a stupid argument against it. Anyone can do that. But now go and argue against a very intelligent argument, one that even makes you unsure. That's what we need, because that forces us to think better, to write better, to express better, and to be more humble about it. And humility, really, I believe, is the first step to learning. Because you have to say, I don't know, if you are to know. So let's do this a bit more. And I say to you, as I say to myself, let's read better books, let's be more humble, let's learn more. Because if we learn more and we try to learn more about each other and about the topics, we're going to argue better, we're going to develop the ideas better, and hopefully we'll get better to the truth, which at the end of the day is the only thing that matters.